I don't drink soda.
Countdown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Yo, thank you for tuning into the Natural Habitat Podcast, best home on earth. My name is Mikey Booyah.
My name is Awesome Ty.
We're joined by the guys, and this is episode 750 of the show.
750, nice, nice.
Milestone.
Milestone, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I'm going to put that away for a while. Episode 750 of the show.
Yeah.
This is a big thing. People have been looking forward to it. We've been looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Jerry's been looking forward to it. Satchmo definitely has.
Yeah.
Satchmo,
it's a hand puppet.
Is it him?
Sock puppet.
Yeah, sock puppet. Computer's here. Computer, say hello.
Yeah, computer's
perfect.
not here. He's checked out. We all kind of
Perfect. And then up in Canada, we got our American correspondent in Canada. Or is he Canadian again because the election's over?
I guess.
Who even knows?
Yeah,
we got Free Candy. Free Candy, say hello, bud.
Hey, Mikey and Ty. I hope you guys are having a good day. I sure as hell am not. I just got a call from somebody I never wanted to talk to. Jerry calls me. He says, you guys are thinking about quitting the podcast. And I got to tell you, it really hurts. And if that happens, let's just say I've got 2 cats and a couple dogs and access to some heavy machinery. And it's going to come down there. It's going to kind of make things a bit tough for you. I can't say how, but just fuck around and find out.
Okay, yeah. So I guess since Free Candy is just gonna, dox us and tell everybody what's going on, this is the last episode of the show.
It's the last episode. Series finale.
Series finale of the Natural Habitat Podcast. It's been a nice run, but I think the show has devolved into something that we never intended it to be.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just kind of falling apart, and at the same time, we're not seeing any real growth. We're just constant. Yeah. So,
it's kind of just in this weird loop, this corporate cycle, and it's not what we signed up for.
Jerry somehow he sold the show to Disney, although we've seen no money, and we just constantly have to deal with this fucking red phone now, and it's just it's to the point where now we're like, I dread coming to work every week to do this show, and it has become work as opposed to a labor of love like it used to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we used to have all kinds of creative ideas and be super stoked to do the show every week, and now it's just like, oh God, I'm gonna have to fucking come and take Doug's calls, and nobody has been enjoying this, so it's just been
the same shit over and over again with the Doug's calls. And him trying to, change the show on the fly and break up the flow. We haven't been able to have like an honest conversation.
Yeah. And then it seems like we've been on the fucking road to 1,000 followers for years now, and we're nowhere near 1,000 followers. That's not taking off. It's just kind of like, I see these podcasts, they've had like, 2 or 3 episodes, and they've amassed these huge followings, and are like raking in money, and it's like 750 episodes, and we're not doing that. So
what? I'm not Josh Brolin. Who cares?
Yeah,
Brolin? Is that his name?
The fucking Hawk Tua girl.
Yeah.
I'm not the Hawk Tua girl. Sorry. I don't spit on dicks.
But, it's become uncertain times around here at the podcast.
Yeah.
And, this is a big creative outlet for Ty and I. It's something that we can make and we could put out and we could be proud of, and we could stay.
We used to.
Yeah. Well, this in its best form. Yeah. That's what it is. That's what the show used to represent.
And it's like we're going to be completely honest with you. We're just regular guys. We work normal jobs, many hours a week. We don't have unlimited time to go out and make cool shit like we used to when we were younger.
Yeah.
So it's like the limited time we do have. Do we really want to sit around and make a Disney influenced podcast for nobody that nobody appreciates
and promote Peter Pan and the fucking whateverth anniversary? Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
That's not what we're about. That's not
we
what
hit 750. 750 feels like a good number. We're calling it a day. So
So what we want to do before we get out of here is we want to. You just want to go now? No, not yet.
Okay.
Because we are. It does say in the contract that in between episodes we're allowed like a leave of absence for any sort of like medical or personal reasons, for like limited amount of time.
Well, thank God we're allowed anything from
Yeah.
fucking Disney.
And that's legal. I think it's just a legal thing that they had to put in there.
Probably.
So
I'm
if
sure-
we leave in the middle of the episode, it's going to be a problem. But if we kind of slip out in between eps, I think we'll be okay. We'll have enough time to get a head
It's like
start, get out.
You can come fucking track me down, Doug, and
Mhm.
I'll piece your, I'll hit your, I'll punch you in the mouth. I'm gonna punch him.
Yeah. So we're done with Doug. And we just want to, be honest with you guys.
Yeah, I feel like there's some things that we should come clean about.
Mhm.
That maybe like we've left people in the dark about. So one comes to mind. I don't need glasses.
Wear glasses
I've
for real.
never worn glasses. Actually,
Holy
I do actually have some prescribed glasses. But
Wait, so you do wear glasses?
The ones that I wear on the show they're not legitimate. I don't need these to see.
So you wear novelty glasses on the show?
Yeah, and I just kind of thought they looked cool.
Mhm.
Also, I'm not a candidate for anything. Never officially filed paperwork to do any of that shit. So I've never technically been a candidate for mayor, for president. That was just it's a running gag. We thought it was funny. Maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, it is funny. It was funny.
Yeah, and
And I mean, technically, you did march in a parade.
yeah. Honestly, I don't even consider myself to be super awesome. So I'm just Ty.
And, I also don't need this beanie. I have hair. I'm not trying to.
It's not a medical beanie.
It's not a medical
You've
beanie.
kind of, led the illusion that it's a medicinal beanie, and it's not.
It's not. I usually take this off when we're done with the show.
Yeah.
And also, I don't talk like this. This isn't my regular voice.
You gonna give us a little sneak peek of your
No.
No?
No, not at
I
all.
mean, why let all the cats out of the
Yeah,
bag?
I can't do that because, I mean, in a perfect world, we can break free of this contract somehow and continue to do the show that we love for the Habit Rats.
Or maybe we'll do a new show. Maybe we won't do a show. Maybe we'll go out and I don't know. We'll make some sort of spin-off show. Could we do that? No, probably not.
Yeah,
It would just...
we can make like a scripted show that's based on the podcast.
Oh, okay, there you
I
go.
think they did that with Marin. They did that with Mark Marin.
I mean, realistically, unless the demand suddenly is there, like I don't foresee us doing that. So this is probably it.
Yeah. So we wanted to, throughout this episode, we want to go through the history of the show for people that might not know all the work that we put into it.
750 episodes. That's
Yeah.
way more than probably 99% of podcasts.
That's a lot.
I can only think of a few shows that have more episodes than us, and it's a shame that people didn't really appreciate that.
And, those episodes will live on out there. You can go listen to them whenever you want. And that's how we will gauge the fans' reaction and the demand for the show. If we start getting a spike in the back catalog, that might rumble something inside of us, awaken this.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe. But we want to go through the history of the show, and we also want to, come clean to you guys about some stuff and kind of break the fourth wall, drop the kayfabe, if you will. And so here's one. Smart plug never hooked up to Starlink.
No, it was just an inanimate object without any power.
It didn't have any power because you have to plug it in.
Yeah.
What it was like it was like an outlet that you could control with your phone with Wi-Fi.
Yeah, the hateful things that he said were just
I did
on
that.
our soundboard.
You don't have to take credit for that. I did that.
Yeah, that was all Mikey.
That was me. I typed that out. Ty didn't even know that it was going to happen. And you could go back and you could gauge by Ty's reaction that he didn't know that was coming.
Yeah.
And I probably had a look like a Dennis the Menace type or the kid from Problem Child, where I was looking at you when he was about to say it. And I was like,
Computer is I mean, I guess technically he is an artificially intelligent podcast co-host, but it's just an
He's
Alexa.
dumb.
It's
He's
just an
real
Alexa.
dumb.
It's,
Yeah,
it's
an
an
Alexa.
old model Alexa. I mean, it's really there's not much going on.
That's kind of how we got away with it, is that it was an old model, so people they can't really recognize it. And then it started coming back because there was sales on Amazon. So we had to cover it up, and that's why it's obscured with the on-air sign and everything.
You can just move Satchmo. You can see it right here.
Mm-hmm. And also,
Satchmo didn't escape from a laboratory. This is just a sock puppet that my kids had laying around that they weren't playing with, and I was like, oh, that would make it for a good bit.
Yeah, and it was.
So it's just
he's a great addition to the show.
You can wear it.
So the show in its earliest renditions was called JSC Radio, is how it started. And it was a radio station, internet radio station, where we would play music, myself and William Waffles, and we would record us being radio DJs in between the songs. And we would be like, we're hosting this thing, we're curating the music for you. We'd put in like a bunch of bangers and then burn like an hour and 40-minute CD or whatever you could fit onto a CD.
Yeah.
And then we would go hand them out to people. Like how we still do now. We still actually, no, we don't do that. We said recently that we burn CDs and go give them to older listeners.
Oh, yeah, we haven't done that in years.
Yeah, we haven't done that forever. But that's how it started. We would burn CDs and we would go give them to our friends and be like, hey, new episode. Then we'd start having like friends over and doing like a chill sesh where we would all smoke and then we would play music. And it slowly got less and less about the music and more about the parts in between the music where we would chop it up and bullshit. And then when we started uploading it online, we couldn't upload any music because of copyright purposes. So we just cut out all the sections of us talking. And I remember I put like 3 seconds of the song, like it would start and then fade out. And then we would come back in. And that was in 2004, 2005. And that was, I don't really like to brag about this, so I don't bring it up much, but before Joe Rogan started his podcast, we had our podcast.
I mean, it technically probably wasn't even called a podcast. We had podcasts even.
Yeah, it was internet radio.
Maybe very early days of it, but I mean, still,
and we stole it from W Fuck Off Radio.
Oh, yeah.
Psychopathic Records.
I do remember that.
Radio.
Mm-hmm.
And they would put their archive online on the website, and you could just listen to like a 4-hour radio broadcast. And they were playing music and bullshitting and doing like little games and Howard Stern type things.
Yeah.
So we were just doing our own version of that while also playing our own music like throughout. And then we would play your music and then got you on one of those old episodes.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was, I want to say episode 23 was your first appearance. Something like that.
Yeah.
And then William Waffles. Okay, so yeah, this first episode on here is Paranormal Activity, and it's me and Bill, and we're talking about ghosts. And then...
And these are all just audio episodes back then. This is long before we introduced a camera into the equation or anything like that.
Yeah, no video at all. And then I did things like the second episode is my DJ mixtape that I made. Denizen is what it was called.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And it was just like a little mix mash of a bunch of stuff. And then that next episode was Joey Black's first episode.
Joey Black, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Who was a local rapper. What group was he in? 40 Ounce Freaks?
Yeah, he was in 40 Ounce Freaks for a time, and then they changed their name to something else.
Sushi Boys was a thing.
Sushi Boys.
Varsity Dropouts.
Varsity Dropouts, yeah.
Yeah, with Locke's Chatterbox.
Biggest thing.
Yeah.
And he was a rapper guy that we knew. I knew him actually since like middle school. I've been friends with him, like fucking, so I've known him forever. He's been around forever. But yeah, it was like all of a sudden he was on the show. Yeah. And I was like, how did this pairing even come about? So, like, I really didn't.
What happened was Bill moved away. He moved from California to Oregon. And I remember I gave him like a microphone and a little mixer and everything that he needed to hook up to his computer. And then the mixer wasn't working with his computer. Like it wouldn't read it for whatever reason. And this was way back in the day. So we didn't even know how to use any of this stuff really,
Yeah.
So he couldn't get his audio up, and he was moving. He had a bunch of other shit going on. So he was like, I'll try to be on the show whenever I can. You know,
You were in a pinch. You needed somebody new. Somebody.
I needed an ep.
Yeah.
I needed an ep that week, you know? And that's the thing, is that for the past 20 years almost of my life, I've been like, well, I guess we probably weren't doing, we would just do sporadic releases up until like 2010.
Yeah.
I want to say, when we started doing weekly episodes. And ever since then, I've been on some I need a ep for Wednesday, like type shit. And it's just been like such an ongoing thing in my life. And it's gone through all these like phases.
So many phases.
And that one was the Joey Black phase. He was in Hollywood. He had a full studio set up at his house. And he was like, dude, I'm ready to go. Like, he loved the podcast. He would listen to it with me and Bill. And he was like super into podcasts at the time, listening to a lot of shows. It was really starting to, and this was back when only like 7% of people listened to one podcast a week or more.
Yeah, but they were starting to come up, and
They were a
that was
niche
probably
thing.
around the time that I started listening to various podcasts of my own,
And he was like, hey, I like your podcast. I want to do one. You should let me on there. And then Bill had moved away, and then Joey was trying to be on the show, and I was like, just do it with me every week.
Yeah, that was a whole era. At that point, you guys started, or at least for a time, you were doing multiple episodes a week. You had like various themes, and it was a lot more of like an organized thing, I feel like, as far as the topics and that sort of thing.
Yeah, we would have Tuesday News Day, which is where we would go over all the current events of that previous weekend and beginning of the week, right? Then we would have Throwback Thursday, where we would talk about some sort of nostalgic topic.
Yeah. I would sometimes be a guest in that era, and we would talk about like old wrestling pay-per-views or like a movie. I think we even did some movie commentary episodes where we were just talking over a movie while it played.
There was this episode 35 where
Thank you for tuning into the natural.
I had a Roach clip on, and no, I don't think this is the one that you and I did with Roach in his garage. I think that was later on, because we had just started video.
Later.
But episode 41 with Awesome Ty, you were on there. And then we just kind of had random stuff for a while until we started the weekly stuff. And then on Sundays, we would do the Church of Cannabis episodes.
Oh, yeah. There was like and this is a fake church.
Mm-hmm.
There was never
Church of
like a
Cannabis, fake church.
legitimate, it was never a legitimate organized religion, never got any sort of tax exemption status.
Yeah, but that
was
was
just-
the goal. You
Yeah,
know,
I
we
mean,
were really
sure.
hoping for that.
I mean, we've had a lot of goals that we're really hoping for,
Mhm.
but I mean, the legitimacy of them is,
So
it is what it is.
Yeah, we would also do Guess That Theme Song.
Guess
a
that
lot
theme song. And
back then.
I made the theme song for Guess That Theme Song.
Yeah, that's right.
That was pretty sweet.
And you were on quite a few episodes of that.
Yeah, so there were definitely like a lot more just kind of like organized recurring segments and that sort of thing, as
Yeah.
opposed to just random things.
And then we would do Saturday Matinee, where we would talk about a movie. We would do an episode all about some classic movie. And then we would also do commentaries where we would watch the movie. And I remember we did the wrestling commentary for
Yeah.
WrestleMania 1.
Yeah, we started doing like all the very first pay-per-views. I think we did like maybe 2 or 3 of them, and then eventually that got scrapped. But
Yeah, because they were like 6 hours long.
yeah, and the first ones were really, really boring
Mhm.
and just not, like we should have started in a later era. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
think so.
that was cool.
Then podcasts were really starting to take off. At this point, people were hearing about them. They were the new thing on the market.
They were all the rage.
Then, since podcasts weren't really, I mean, right now it's set up to where there's tiers, there's all this elitism, there's these podcast charts.
Mhm.
If you're not listed in the iTunes comedy section, then you're not a
Exactly.
real podcast.
People
And-
judge your podcast by the amount of reviews it has, star reviews it has, as opposed to the content.
And now there's more of a frame of reference than there used to be. people didn't really know what a good podcast was or how to tell if a podcast was good. And as a podcaster, you always learn to hide your numbers.
Yeah.
So that way you keep it a
unless
mystery,
they're good, of course.
Unless they're good, then you make them public.
Yeah, very public.
So we could reach out to people on Instagram and just get people on the show. I remember we got Shelby Chong on the show.
Oh yeah,
Tommy Chong's wife.
Yeah, some like C-list celebrity interviews at one point.
And then she promised that she was going to get Tommy on the show. And then he got sick, which I think might have been a lie. And then Evelyn Guerrero Merida, who played Donna in the Cheech and Chong movies.
Yeah.
And she was also Pat Merida's wife.
Really tapped into the Cheech and Chong universe for
Well, she reached out to us and she said, hey, I saw Shelby Chong's interview. I want to be on your show. I played Donna.
Yeah, and see, this was kind of like a golden era where, like people, especially boomers and people of that age, were just finding out what a podcast was. So, like, they really had no way of looking at your legitimacy or, knowing whether a show was going to be seen by. Our numbers fluctuate generally, but I mean, at no point have we ever been like a huge show to where like anybody's gonna get a legitimate rub off of us. I mean, if anything, it's the other way around. Like we were getting the rub off of Shelby Chong.
Yeah, we were. We got a little bump. We got a little bump from that, and it went the opposite of what she thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and
that was also like episode 70. So
that's what
we were barely starting. Yeah,
yeah,
and then we then that is when we started lying because we started getting all these guests on. So I started doing it like I did an episode called Randy Quaid, which makes it sound like Randy Quaid's on the episode.
Oh yeah,
but we were just talking about
Randy
him
Quaid
because it was when he ran away to Canada.
Oh,
remember that?
Yeah. So I mean, that kind of began the clickbait era, if you will.
Then we had a lot of producers on. We had Locks Chatterbox. We had Got Bass, KO, Kung Fu Vampire we interviewed.
Yeah, so I mean, for a while it was like a regular thing to have interviews, which we've strayed away from in recent years for the most part.
Then after Kung Fu Vampire, we got Dirtbag Dan. And then one of my personal favorite episodes of all time, episode 119, where we interviewed Wax.
Oh, wow.
And
I didn't even. I mean, like, I'm sure I knew about it at the time, but I would have totally forgot about that.
Yeah. So he was putting out a new album or something, and I hit him up on Instagram, and I was like, "Hey, you want to be on our show? We've interviewed Shelby Chong and Kung Fu Vampire and Dirtbag Dan, you know." And he was like, "Yeah, I could do Sunday at 2." And then we just like Skyped him or whatever. And I remember Joey embarrassed me. So I'll tell the real story on this one.
Hound dogging him or something?
Kinda, yeah. He was like, he like joined the call and Wax was like, "It's nice to meet you guys." And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm Mikey." And then Joey was like, "I'm Josh," because that was his real name. And he was like, "I'm Josh." And he's all, "Nice to meet you, man." And he's all, "Oh, you don't remember me?"
Oh, no.
And he was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I was in whatever, like, studio with Locks Chatterbox, and I saw you in there, and so happened with such and such." And he was like, "Nah, man, sorry, I don't remember that, but, you know, good to see you again."
Yeah.
Like, he was really cool and nice about it. And Joey was just like, "You gonna act like you don't know who I am? You know me." And he did it on the show. I want to say it's in the episode.
That's wild.
So it was crazy. And that kind of set everything off on a weird foot. But then it ended up being okay after a while.
Yeah.
He's a sweet boy. We used to do the 12 Days of Christmas back in the day. That was a big thing. We haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah.
But we would put out an episode every day for the 12 Days of Christmas. And that's it. They were short ones. They were like 15 minutes. And then you play Guess That Theme Song. Oh, I have another thing to drop. Drop the veil.
Pierce
the veil. Yeah, pierce the veil. Jerry's not real. Jerry's never been a real guy.
Oh, yeah.
Jerry represents the parts of me that I don't like, and I reflect them all upon Jerry. And sometimes when Ty yells at Jerry, it hurts because it feels like he's yelling at me.
Oh, wow. I never knew that, man. I'm sorry. Jerry did kind of begin the beginning of the extended NHP universe and some of the arcs that we started, and I guess that kind of more started like when I joined as a host, you know, like these fictitious arcs and stories that we began trying to tell and planning out and writing. So I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but yeah, Jerry is kind of like
he kind of started that
first, you know,
and he was around. I want to say
he was around before I was.
Yeah, he was around since either the very beginning or very early on. There was always some guy off camera that I was yelling at. And there was always a Jerry that was pissing me off, that was doing something right off camera. And eventually I want to do an episode where we do like a Jerry reveal, where we yell at Jerry.
We definitely had that in the cards, you know, kind of ready to play that at some point.
Which we could tell you now since the show's over, that we were going to do a thing where like we yelled at Jerry and then we were like, give me a drink or something. And then we have someone lean in, someone that you've never seen on the show before, lean in and drop something on the table.
Didn't we do that with Matt? No, I think we talked about it, but
yeah, I want to say he might have armed in.
Yeah, I think maybe we saw Jerry's arm or something like that.
Yeah, maybe we did see Jerry's arm.
But yeah, there's been a lot of, you know, like stories that we've tried to tell.
And okay, so yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We did. This is where a bulk of the episodes came out because we were doing 3 a week. So it was like bam, 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 right?
Spam.
I'm scrolling, we're up to 300. Okay, so yeah, this is a thing. And then one day,
and this is again, these were audio only, or at what point did the video episodes like begin on a regular basis?
So I want to say that was, we would toy with video episodes back when I was doing it at my house when I lived in the apartments, and I kind of just had like a couch and a desk. Like it was I think there's some old videos where we're just like sitting on a
yeah.
But for the most part, we wouldn't do video back then. I want to say the video started with or shortly before the studio. That we tried doing video here and there, and then the consistent video started when we had the
once
studio.
We had actual recording studio. That was a real thing. We did have a recording studio, which was sweet.
Yeah, that was real.
That is definitely probably when the weekly video episodes began. And that was also right around the time where Joey left, or...
Yeah, I'm trying to find when Joey left. So then we started doing themed weeks. We did Pyramids Week. We did 7 Wonders Week. Some natural wonders of the world. And then this is where the wrestling commentary started. And then we did some sort of swap cast. The Awesome Ties Running for Mayor swap cast.
Okay, so the Awesome Ties Running for Mayor was like before that, actually. Then I had my own podcast, because that was before we did the mayor. It was called Unsolicited Opinions, and that was just me talking. It was heavily scripted. I had a lot of fun sitting and making it, but that just didn't really go anywhere. And I would, I think even in that era, we did some sort of, collaborations.
Yeah.
Where I would come on here, promote it, and then we did the Awesome Ties Running for Mayor YouTube series, which got its own podcast.
Yeah, a companion podcast.
Yeah, that was the beginning of our hosting a weekly podcast together, because you were my co-host on that.
Yeah,
as my campaign manager.
Michael J. Booyah. And then, so this was. Let me look at the information on this. The last episode with Joey was July 11th, 2017. And then we got in an argument about some small thing, and I'm sure it was underlying things that were brewing for a while. And he was like, I'm not doing the show anymore. And he left. So I just told everyone that we were parting ways because he was getting busy with music and doing his thing. And then I did a solo episode. This was the start of Mikey Likes It, where I did an episode called Twin Peaks, episode 368. And I just talked about Twin Peaks because I like it.
It's a solid strategy.
Yeah. And I just did I tried to see, I think it was a test to see if I could do an hour-long episode by myself.
It's very hard.
It's tough. But then I pulled it off. And then right after that, the very next episode was Awesome Ty is running for mayor. So Ty swooped in. I was like, Joey left. I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess this is just a podcast where I talk about TV shows I like. Like, I don't know. And then you came in. We did the Awesome Ty is running for mayor themed episode, which I think kicked off the show.
Yeah.
And the companion podcast.
Yes.
And then it was kind of like a mix of you and I would get friends on. I got Killer Chris on a couple times. I got Bill on a couple times. And then it was more consistently you.
Yeah, I feel like when we were doing the Running for Mayor podcast, we would often record them back to back in just one sitting.
And then it looks like I did do a few other solo podcasts. I had Sachi on. Sachi of Rogue Status.
And yeah, these are all people that probably most people don't recall, but they're just friends of ours, basically. Nobody of note.
And then that's around the time that Rick Storer started showing up, friend of the show, comedian Rick Storer. He made his first appearance back then. And then so I felt like I didn't want to do what Joey and I were doing. Because Joey and I had like the Tuesday News Day, Throwback Thursday, Saturday Matinee.
Wanted to start mixing it up a little more.
And I didn't want to just continue the ideas that we came up with together and just be like, this is it now. So that felt kind of dirty. And then also, realistically, I couldn't do 3 episodes a week by myself.
Yeah, for sure.
So I decided to just kind of get episodes wherever I could with whoever. And then that more and more consistently became with you since we were already doing the Awesome Ty is Running for Mayor podcast.
Yeah.
And then we kind of like brought new life to the show, changed the theme of it. And that's kind of why I like the Natural Habitat podcast is like a very vague name and hard for people to remember. But I feel like it's good because it's a fitting name for each era of the show. Like it's constantly evolving.
I could see that.
And it's wherever our current natural habitat is, you know?
So eventually that moved into the studio when we had the recording studio, right? And was that about the time where Matt started popping in more and more?
Yeah, we got 446 Carefree.
Okay.
And then 447 is an episode called Good Onion. And it's an onion with Bo Berry's face. Here, look, I'll show you the picture of it.
Trusty water.
Oh, that's me.
Roxanne water. Oh, we have to make an account, right?
And Nancy, what I would ask you is to make an exception just for...
website, and if you want to let this person know something, is that it?
Nancy, it's the holidays. You know, nobody wants to deal with any of this.
There's a link at the bottom where you can do that.
So we've been fucking with people on the phone.
Oh yeah,
forever.
that's been another thing. Yeah,
That's been a constant
always
thing.
Been enjoyed giving people a hard time on the phone.
And then so right after that was this episode Bars, and the picture of it, the thumbnail is the studio. It's like the studio setup. So we had just started doing episodes at the studio. And then that's when we started filming. We had a bad angle, and then we had a worse angle, and then we flipped everything around and had a better angle, and then slowly started adding more lighting and effects and things, and then turned into what you saw for that whole stretch. There was like a whole year or two where we were doing
the
weekly
the
eps
studio
in there.
period, and then Matt kind of came on as a regular host, And at that point, I don't know if you recall, but there was a point where you and him had a discussion and basically decided that maybe I didn't take things as seriously as you guys did, and that my presence was no longer needed on a weekly basis. I don't want to say that I was fired, because I had never cemented myself as a weekly host, you know what I mean? But that was definitely something that popped up. I don't know. I would assume that's probably more Matt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt since Matt isn't here. I'm gonna go.
Did
ahead
that really
and put that on
happen?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Damn.
that happened. That happened
No
for
way.
Sure. Yeah, it was studio era. I mean, you know, I took it, you know, like I wasn't trying to be like the weekly host or anything, so I didn't bum me out, but obviously it stuck with me till, you know, like
Matt kind of swooped in.
back on it.
And then also Matt and I were living together.
Oh, yep.
So we were
that
doing a lot
was-
more episodes together. And then we would kind of just like on a whim do a podcast. And then you'd be like, when are we doing the podcast? And I'd be like, oh, well, we already got it.
Yeah.
And that was happening more and more. And then Matt was around forever. And then Josh was on.
Oh, yeah. Josh was on all the time. You have your cousin Josh.
Mm-hmm. And then it's that conversation that we had about you, we actually did have about Josh.
Yeah.
Because
Well, I
he
mean,
was
yeah, I mean,
he was wilding
you
on
can't-
some episodes.
You can't. You know, you can't put me in the same box with Josh. That's just
No,
not fair.
no,
Nothing
no.
against Josh. I mean, if you're watching this, Josh, I love you. But you know, like, you know, we're two different guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, but I think that we just were putting out a lot more frequency, me and Matt.
Yeah,
And then I don't know if he left when he went to fireman school.
yeah. That's when he left. Then you also had at this point that we're getting towards the pandemic,
Yeah.
which that kept me, you know, like I had a newborn baby right at the beginning of the pandemic. I was not going out to the studio like I was, you know. Obviously, the studio burned down shortly thereafter, but there was a while where I remember I wasn't on the show for a long time. Eventually, I joined via Skype, I think, one time during the pandemic. But I mean, there was an extended period where I was not on the show.
Yeah.
And I missed it, you know, like I for sure had an itch to get back in. And then I think, yeah, Matt joined the academy,
Mhm.
at which point you finally asked me, hey, do you want to jump in here, like, and make this a permanent thing? And, you know, I've been here since.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think we started kind of,
Yeah. Let me see.
just coming up with silly stories to tell over the period of, you know, like a several episode stretch.
Mhm. That's the thing that I
A lot
like
of
about
lying.
because when Matt and I were doing the show together, and when Joey and I were doing the show together, and Bill, like all the episodes were one off. There wasn't like a lot of things that we carried into the next episode.
Yeah.
It was like South Park, like everything resets after like next week it all resets.
And then eventually South Park did the opposite, though. They
they
did
started
start
adding the
going to-
arcs.
yeah.
And that's what we did. We did it before South Park also, just like we did it before Rogan. We started when you came on the show as a permanent co-host, then we started introducing these arcs that we would carry on.
We had the IC sponsorship arc where we, you know, like lied about getting sponsored. And that a lot of these just came on like a complete whim. I think one day I showed up here, it was the middle of summer, and I had an icy, and it just came from that. The Dollar Tree arc, sponsorship arc, a lot of us lying about getting these major corporations to sponsor us, and then, you know, harassing their corporate offices and what have you.
Yep.
We've had quite a few. I'm drawing some blanks here now, but
Then we did a season finale in $5.99. This is where we were here, but we had the gray backdrop. This was before we moved to the city, which this also isn't the
oh
city.
yeah, this isn't a big
is
city. It's just a backdrop.
Yeah.
You can totally tell it's not the big. I mean,
Yeah, I don't even know what city that is. I think it's like Singapore. I want to say I looked it up and it's Singapore. But we were doing episodes here. We started our Kanye updates. We started doing this Kanye arc. That luckily we got out of that. You know,
Oh yeah, we
that
got
was
out of that
dangerous
just in time.
territory. And we dropped that around the same time that he dropped. You know what? All that horrible stuff that he said.
Oh
about
yeah, all the racist stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then I think a lot of it was like the IC. You would bring in an IC, we would joke about it. It would turn into a thing for 3 months. Then all of a sudden, that was one of my favorite things about the show is that 564 episodes in, we said that's the end of season 1.
Oh yeah, we would start and stop seasons at just a complete whim.
Yeah. And that's what this is actually a season finale.
Well, it's a series.
The series finale, but also a season finale, the final season.
Yeah.
Which, what are we on now? Like 4?
God, I don't even know.
Because I want to say one season was only 1 episode long.
Yeah, it was for sure.
So I want to say there was the first season, which was like 500 episodes. Then we went to season 2, which was much shorter. And then season 3 was one episode.
Then we've been on season 4
We've been
since.
on 4 ever since.
That sounds right.
So season finale, season 4 finale.
Yeah. We've done the running for president stuff recently. I'm trying to think. Like I should have made a list. I mean, we didn't put a lot of thought into, the fact that.
Yeah, we kind of had a powwow before the show. We were in Ty's car. We were doing testosterone and smelling salts. And we were like, we can't fucking do this anymore. We can't do this show anymore the way that it's going. So we decided on a whim to come in here. And instead of doing the regularly scheduled program, which was some sort of promo for Christmas and Disney Plus or something like that, Santa Claus 2. Or is there already a Santa Claus 2?
I think there is a Santa Claus 2. I know the movie Frozen is probably getting a sequel or something like that coming soon. Yeah. So that's probably going to be something they would have told us to promote. But I mean, I every week it's something different with this Disney.
So we didn't really plan out doing this last. This last final episode and giving you the history of the show. So we're not as prepared as we would like to be. The Dollar Tree sponsorship.
Yeah, that was never.
We started bringing on fake sponsors.
Yeah, no, we did shop at Dollar Tree a lot for the show, just to get cheap decorations and what have you. But Dollar Tree would never. I mean, Dollar Tree. We're not even a blip on the radar. They have no idea who we are. We've called them and harassed them numerous times. Oh, remember
we got kicked out of one.
yeah, we did.
Is that what you were going to say?
No, I was going to say, remember when we were harassing that children's hospital for something? That was the ICR.
Yeah.
Oh, I had some good times.
So Icy was doing a program where they would donate an Icy machine to a children's hospital for dead children or dying children. So we called that hospital and we're trying to ask how the Icy machine worked and if they had to make them pay for the refills.
And if they were able to get exotic flavors or just the typical.
That was funny.
Cherry Coke.
That was hella funny. We called an alleged child molester just like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
The calls have always been great.
Calls are great.
So, yeah, we should actually call Matt. We should let him know that we're quitting the show.
I told him. I told Roach too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then we tried to leave one day and Jerry's friends showed up. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. That was
Alvin and Todd, man.
That was just us. Us in bag costumes.
Man, it feels so good to get this all off my chest. It was crazy.
And then Free Candy was just a guy, who actually like listened to the show and interacted.
He was like our top listener.
Yeah.
And he would comment all the time. He found us on SoundCloud back when we were uploading on there. Before we would only put it on SoundCloud and like iTunes and then upload to Facebook Watch.
Yeah. I mean, the entire time we've been begging for any sort of engagement, like drop a comment or whatever. And he was like the one dude that would do it regularly. So eventually we were just like, you know what, let's make him a part of the show.
Yeah.
And
he had listened to, I want to say at the time we had like, say 500 episodes and he had 1,200 plays. So he had listened to every episode twice and then some.
I think at least at that point, you were saying he had like a job where he had to drive a lot, which I did too. I mean, like I listened to probably 100 hours of podcasts a month or something like that.
He was
just a crazy amount.
Yeah, he was up in Canada and he was listening, or he was driving the Hell Highway or whatever from that Netflix show.
Yeah.
It's like an icy truck road. So he's on this icy truck road. He's listening to the podcast. He's having a great time. He's interacting on SoundCloud. So I said, wouldn't this be funny to take this guy who really likes the show and then who clearly likes the show more than anybody else, and even the next top person, they only had like, 400 plays.
Yeah.
And I was like, how funny would it be to just take this guy and then just make him a part of the show and just put him on, make him a co-host, make him a correspondent, and then just like really lean into making him more of this part of the show.
Yeah, we've even tried to do that with other people that, you know, engaged with us, and it seems like they just weren't consistent enough for us to really do it. But Free Candy,
none of them are Free Candy
to this day. There's you know,
there's only
just
one.
Free Candy.
There's only one.
Free Candy, can you hear me, mate?
And I think that I was thinking, like, if I listened to some little, like, you know, independent podcast, and then if all of a sudden they started talking about me and bringing me up all the time, that it would be, you know,
Off-putting?
it'd be a trip.
It's just weird.
It'd be creepy.
Yeah, he's
kinda.
been a good sport about it, honestly.
Mhm. Yeah, he really has been. And he still listens to the show and he still enjoys it. And he's been leaving comments on the YouTube channel as we've been recording this episode. They've been popping up. So he's enjoying the last episode right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And if there were even, you know, like 10 or 15 or 20 more people that gave us that level of engagement, we'd probably tough this thing out and keep, you know, like sit out our Disney contracts or whatever, get through this thing, power through. But we just, you know, like, I mean,
yeah, what are you going to do?
what's the point?
And that reminds me another thing, you know, to be completely transparent. This also isn't the last episode. We're going to do an episode next week. I'm just going to South Dakota, so we might have a week in between. So after that,
you just killed the bit.
Well, no, it's meta because the whole bit is that we're being honest, but then we're also lying about it being the last show. So I have to be honest about that if we're going to be honest.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Plus, it's way at the end.
Yeah, who cares?
So with the way retention goes online nowadays,
Nobody's still watching.
no, we got 0.32
Are we going to be
people
able
are
to get
watching this.
the Fresh Prince thing in still?
Yeah. You should.
Computer, play "See You Again" by Wiz Khalifa.
Oh shit.
Okay, See You Again, featuring Charlie Puth by Wiz Khalifa from Spotify.
Wait, but this isn't the song. This isn't the song from Fresh Prince.
No, it's just like we're putting two ideas together.
Okay, well let's hold on. Computer, stop. Computer, stop. Computer, start
This
this
is the
song over.
Paul Walker death song, I think. They play it in Fast and the Furious
Computer,
because
stop.
Paul Walker was killed in real life.
Oh, they play this in Fast and
it's
Furious?
meta because they play it. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that we gather ourselves again, so that way we can clip this. So that way it's not like a sloppy thing, you know.
Getting a little emotional.
So yeah, that's it. You know, it's been a good time.
It's been a wild ride, man.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Been
We wish that it didn't end like this, but it's what it is, man. All right. Computer, play Spotify.
All right, here's Spotify.
I love you, Ty.
Me too, man.
Love you guys.
Natural Habitat Recordings.